Hey Brianna, how's it going?
Hey, Sandy, good. So happy to finally speak to you about this. I've been waiting since February, so.
Congratulations. When you told me you were excited to do this, well, I'll get into that later in terms of I'm going to ask you like how you were feeling, like results anxiety and stuff. So I guess that's that. But congratulations. You did a great job and you really
Thank
think
you. I
so.
couldn't have done it
Yeah.
without you. I always tell you this, but I honestly couldn't have done it without you. I know I put the hard work in, but you led me, you guided me, you gave me that path, and I just walked along it.
You're like too kind. I feel like I can never do anything wrong to you. And it's kind of scary. I don't even know how we met.
I thank you. I messaged you on the California Bar Essay Drill app Facebook group. After I heard Chor's podcast, I went out of my way to thank you. I didn't even know who you were. I had no idea who you were. I was like, I need to thank him for putting this episode out because it inspired me so much. It revived me.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. Results come out because the pass rate was, do you know what it was this time?
31%.
31. So there's a lot of pain.
Yeah, and
so
out of that 31%, 28% of that group were repeaters that passed. So 74% of the people that took this exam were repeaters, and only 28% of the repeaters passed, which is exactly what this podcast is catering to.
Crazy. It's like these days, after seeing so many low rate, it's kind of like I don't
listen to that because it's so discouraging that I feel like you get it in your head that pass rate is so low, the pass rate is so low, and it becomes something that you just expect.
Right.
And so I just never wanted to know.
Right. There's no point, right?
It's like setting yourself up for failure. It's like, oh, my chances to pass the bar as a repeater goes down significantly. It's like, do you really want to hear that when you're studying for the most gruesome test ever? No, you don't want to hear that. Because It's a mental test. It's a mental test more than anything.
I really think it is too. Keeping calm, episode 1, Eddie's son, like that whole just being chill. A lot of people said that too, but so many things can affect your game. If you're nervous, it can just affect your thinking and think this way about a question and answer this way, but just that adrenaline or nervousness, and it just throws you off. It's like putting Vaseline on your glasses.
Where you can't see.
Yeah, it just makes everything blurry,
Yeah, I found myself whenever I would panic, in the middle of an MBE or the essays, I would laugh. I was laughing to myself, and this sounds terrible, but I kept saying to myself, I'm doing my best, but my best might just not be good enough for the California bar exam. And I'm laughing to myself because I'm saying that. And as I'm laughing, I'm like, it's okay. You're fine. You're fine.
Right. I did this on Shore's episode, but we talked about that guy who was in the house fire. But I'm going to do it again because Game of Thrones just aired. And it's like when the Hound was trying to fight his brother.
Oh, exactly.
And he just kept on laughing because he couldn't get anywhere,
That was me. That was me.
Sorry, no spoilers.
No, yes, that's exactly the same feeling. That was the feeling. That was the feeling.
Right, right. And it's just like, wow. You went to which law school?
Thomas Jefferson.
Episode 6, Noelia, dear friend, nice, person. She's from Thomas Jefferson. I've met Professor Green.
KJ.
Interest inside a law school. I know Noelia was into immigration.
Oh, law. I never had, honestly. I was just interested in studying.
Cool.
I was interested.
Yeah, guess I was like that too. I didn't, I always liked tech and stuff, but there was no tech thing at my school. So it was just kind of every year you're just trying to midterms, finals. And is there any focus I guess you want to get into now that you're an attorney?
I honestly have no idea. I just want to feel gratified in what I'm doing.
We work in our life to produce something, right? And then we want to feel a sense of accomplishment and that what we're doing is good. And meaning. How many times did it take you to pass the bar?
Just twice. So I didn't pass the first time, July 2018, and then I passed in February. What was my first score? 1299. I had no idea what I was doing the first time. No idea.
That sounds about right.
I had no idea.
You know this, and the listeners may not know this, but I worked with 10 people. So it's hard to keep the scores all, and who's a first timer and stuff. I think there was, out of the 10, there was only one first timer, 1 or 2. But everyone else was repeaters, especially in the mid-year like that. It's going to be a lot of repeaters. So that's great. Second time is a charm, and you did it. Did you have a low point in your bar prep?
Oh my God, my entire bar prep was a low point. I think the suicide drilling was my low point. I think there was that one day that you had suggested to me to go over all of the go over Civ Pro, work just my Civ Pro, stay on Civ Pro. It was so low, my Civ Pro, and you're just work on bringing it up. And so I misinterpreted that into like redo every single civil procedure question on the MBE program I was using. And I remember I messaged him like, I just did 300 civil procedure questions. And you're like, oh, you weren't supposed to really do them anymore. That's great. I was like, yeah, now I know Civ Pro like the back of my hand.
Awesome.
That was a low point. The whole MBE drilling.
I remember something. Sorry to do that to you.
No, it was great. It was so helpful.
But I think the thing with that, and I'll talk about the new app, is when you can work on something and master it, you know that the entire test achievable if you could just master one thing. And so I guess I'll just allude to the app a little bit. I don't want to make this like an app commercial. Came up with this new app based on our studies. As of the airing of this episode, the baby bar version of the app, which is 3 subjects, crim law, contracts, and tort, and 150 to 200 essay drills on crim law, torts, and contracts will be in the app for your access. Getting back to our thing about focusing and mastering, it's 7 levels, and it'll start you off with a small number of questions that you have to master before you can get to the next level. And I really think that is the key to getting good at MBEs.
You were encouraging me to always bring up my percentage, like 3%. And you don't realize how hard that is. 3%, it sounds really minuscule, but it took me, remember that one time it took me 3 days to bring my contracts MBEs up 3%.
Right.
And the thing is, when you're trying to bring it up, you're just so bad. You know, the algorithm, it keeps giving you ones that you're bad at. And so you're like doing like 150 just to raise it 3%. And it's only raising 1.5%. You're like, oh my God, but you're continuing to do them. And that's a low point in bar prep because we're so used to studying to feel confident and, that's the gold star. But if you're studying the right way, you should feel crappy. Bar prep was a total low point because you just feel there was no point.
It's demoralizing.
Yeah, 100%. There was no point in my bar prep where I felt confident. Like there was not a single point in my bar prep where I felt confident.
Right. So this app,
that's crazy.
That's the thing I didn't like about all these other systems really, is they don't let you focus on like a small batch. They give you a bunch and it's so cumbersome to wrap. It really crushes your soul, like how you were in that low point. That's why I came up with this app. Was there ever between either bar or anything that you wanted to just give up and say, I do remember something, but I'll let you kind of...
It was like the week before the exam and I took that week off of work because I didn't feel prepared and I was panicking about the essays. So my whole thing was I wasn't trying to reach a certain percentage on my MBE program, right? I was trying to chase a feeling, like how should I feel when I go into this exam? And you never know how to feel. So my thing was I wanted to be able to look at myself in the mirror and say, I did my best. I stand behind my work product. I could look at myself and be like, you know what? You gave it your all. And so in order to do that, I had to take that week off of work. And that was my low point because that's when I was trying to focus on essays. And I was like, I didn't even want to show up. And then my other low point after the exam, every day I cried. Every day I cried. I was looking up moving to other states. I was at the bar and I'm so positive. I'm a very positive person. I was watching YouTube videos on how to move to Seattle, like great neighborhoods to live in. I was like, maybe I'll move to Savannah, Georgia. Like so irrational in the middle of taking the bar.
You said that to me afterwards and it just kind of hurt. Retro criticism that doesn't really work because you did pass the bar. You did it feeling really bad about it too, right?
Every day I cried. I was like, I can't believe I just failed. I was like, and I was looking up like the last deadlines. And the website has it, all the last deadlines to sign up for like every single state.
Oh, wow,
like for the bar exam. That is available if anyone wants it. Like, and I'm not a negative person, but I mean, my cousin was one that called me. She's like, Brie, you are manifesting this into a negative thing. Stop. Your essay hasn't even been graded yet. Your MBEs haven't even been graded yet. Stop. Right. Like you are manifesting a terrible negative outcome. Let it go. And I was like, okay.
Well, you did it. There's one thing that I'd like to point out to the listeners that they may not know, but I noticed, and you may not even talk about, was that I would talk to you on Facebook Messenger and I wouldn't hear anything from you like all day. And then I get like a bunch of messages from you in this window, like this very short window, but daily, And I thought that was very cool. And I notice you're even still like that now, in that you're able to just like focus and tune everything out and communicating with me. I'm sure you studied other times. It wasn't just, do you see what I mean? Like you'd study and then you'd like tell me what was going on in that little short window.
Yeah.
But it was very efficient of you. And the biggest thing that I saw was you were impossible to distract because I love to talk, about, and I'll go off on these tangents about movies, Game of Thrones, whatever. You're in your zone, and that's it. And
I like rein it in. No, that's a great compliment. It took me a very long time to get like that.
Right. And it wasn't just for the bar. It's still,
it's like life.
And pretty awesome. And
thank you.
And if that is one skill or whatever that I wish, my daughter would have or myself to have or anyone, and I think it would really help you pass the bar, to just not be so distractible, because I think this stuff sucks, right? Like it just sucks. Like, especially if you're repeating, like you got to learn this again. It's nothing new. Like you've seen all this crap before, and you want to do whatever else. Just say, this is my only time, right?
It helped that I was working full time though.
That was
your next thing. Yeah. So I mean, I don't have any social media. Like that's just like social media. I understand. I appreciate the benefits of it, but I guess I'm not distracted by it. And I only had Facebook. Besides for that, I had a very short window. I was waking up at 3:30 in the morning to study before work. I'd have to leave my apartment at like 7:15, 7:30. And so I used to have this fear that I was running out of time, like always, like even in law school, I was like, I'm running out of time. But like when I was studying for the bar this time around, I really felt like I was running out of time towards the end. That's why I took that week off. But I knew that I only had 3 hours to be focused. And like, even those 3 hours would turn into like 2.5 because I had to get ready for work. But like, I knew that I needed to be focused and diligent. And just like, I actually had a memo on my computer that I would write stuff out to you before I would get on Facebook Messenger and send it. Cause I knew that if I got like sucked into it, I'd be there forever. And so I would like I had a memo that I would just like write notes that I would reach out to you and talk to you about. But no, I just knew that I had very little time. And like, I'm very productive in the morning.
So you leverage feeling of running out of time to be more efficient, right? Yeah. And focus. You work full time and you would wake up at 3:30 something, right?
3:30.
And so how many hours was that per day?
So by the time I was ready, packed my bag for work, it was probably around 5 a.m. So 5, 6, 7, so 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Give or take every morning. But then toward third week in January, I started taking off Fridays. I took off like the final Friday in January and then the next 3 Fridays and the whole week before the bar. And I studied all weekend. Yeah, the weekends, I looked forward to the weekends because I was like, I'm so excited to study. Because when you're just like studying in spurts like that, you get into the zone, and I love learning. I love studying. So even studying for the bar, it's really a crappy feeling because you're constantly being knocked down. But like you just get in your flow and you feel that it's working because you're getting better. Even if it doesn't feel like it, you're just getting better. The algorithm's getting harder. But no, I like really focused on studying smarter, not harder. Because I mean, when I studied for the bar the first time, I wasn't working. I was just studying full time. And for me, having too much time is to my detriment. I was like, I would do stupid stuff. I'd read outlines. I would listen to like lectures like on podcasts or like other people talking, not your podcast, but like, like, why am I doing this? And then now that I had such little time, all I did was MBEs and your essay drill app. And then towards the final few weeks, the last 2 weeks, I started panicking about wills and trusts, and I started writing out essays.
Right. But we handled it, right?
Yeah. So. And the other thing, too, that you taught me that was so pivotal in my success was you were the one that told me at the end of November, why don't you start doing MBEs now? And I'm like, no, I'm going to wait till January 1st. Right. Because I used to be the person that I needed to be in a school or a library with my earplugs with like complete silence in a study room in a cubicle. I needed the perfect environment. I needed to be stressed out. I needed to be sitting up, stressed out, all diligent. But you were the one that encouraged me and said, okay, why don't you start? You taught me the MB Jedi mind trick. And you said, why don't you start doing little by little? And I got to the point where I was doing MBs on my couch, on my phone. The way I studied was sitting on my couch. I literally passed the bar exam just by sitting on my couch and doing things, which is so surreal. That is so not me from law school. 3 bags and go to the library and study all the time. But like here, I was more relaxed. And you were the one that you were like, take advantage of the app and the mobility. And so I was doing that. I remember I was waiting for my car to get the smog test, and I was doing questions on my phone. I'm like, this is so crazy. I'm like laughing. I'm like, this is so awesome.
Right. Yeah. And then, where you're waiting for your car, you could get 10 done.
Yeah. I think I got like 25 done.
Right. And so that's probably like, we both suck at math.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe that's like 1% or 2%, and then you have 98% left.
But the best feeling was reaching that number. When I like completed all the questions on the MBE program, I was like, wow, okay, I feel really good because I've seen all the ways that the bar exam can test this. And I'm telling you, so I was so skeptical. Sandy, I was so skeptical when you told me not to focus on essays, because I think all of us are really afraid of a blank page, right? And that's what the essays are. They're blank pages. Everyone's excuse is always, oh, the MBEs, the answer's there. And it's like, okay, yeah, the answer's there, but they're kind of tricky if you don't know what you're looking for and you don't practice them. And like that showed on my first bar exam. Like I didn't study any of the MBEs. All I did were essays and like barely any MBEs. And my essays, the first time around, my rule statements were beautiful. I was like impressed. I was like, I can't believe I always said I have a hard time memorizing, but I clearly didn't.
See, because that's the thing is memorizing and that kind of stuff. It's kind of easy because you're pushing information out and presenting it your way.
Yeah.
Now, if anybody does anything else, a lot tougher. But by doing MBEs, you're constantly dealing with somebody else's writing. See what I'm saying?
And that was the other thing too. Like the MBEs put me in a mindset of analysis, right? And it was like 3 weeks for the bar where I met with one of my really good friends. She is a bar tutor. And she's like, what's up with your analysis? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you got to work on that because that helps you memorize. And I'm like, what? And she's like, and so she gave me that formula, like for how to do an analysis. It's like so simple. It's like when, insert fact, this shows, insert element of law, because, insert explanation. That was the only thing I wrote down on the scrap paper they gave me. And like I always just reverted back to that. So for my essays, it's crazy because you were right all along. You were like, the essays are just baby MBEs. And I'm telling you.
Chor said that.
Oh, Chor said that?
She said it's like 5 MBEs. She said that.
It's exactly what it is. And so the first essay, I know everyone panicked, right? Like, because there is one sentence that made it seem like it was a community property question, right?
Right.
And I'm like, oh no, I'm not doing the whole community property introduction. I didn't include that. I was like, no, that doesn't seem like a big issue to me. And I recognized, I don't even remember what it's called. I recognized, with the joint tenancy. I recognized that whole dispute. And when joint tenancy, the right of survivorship, that was one of the issues I recognized from the MBEs because property was one of my lowest MBEs and all I did was suicide drill. So I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's what they want. That's what they're prompting me to talk about because it's just an MBE reworded. I was like, huh. And so when I first read that whole like essay, that's when I started panicking. And I remember Noelia's episode where she said she read the first question and she was like, I want to walk out. I want to leave. And then she like calmed down and she was like, okay, you have the knowledge within you. You went through 3 years of law school. You have retained so much information. And if you're freaking out, I guaranteed everyone else around you is freaking out as well. And so that's when I was like, okay. And I like regrouped. My friend gave me another piece of advice where she said, do the essays in order, right? So the first morning, do them in order. Don't look ahead. And so I didn't. Thank God I didn't, because if I had looked ahead, I would have done a different essay. I would have been thinking about that first essay. But I got it out of the way and I got stuff down. And then I moved on to the second and then moved on to the third. And what you taught me though, which I think was also monumental, was the headers and making them specific, but not making them like conclusions, but just making them specific so your grader knows how to read your essays and knows what's coming. And so I took, and everyone's gonna be like, you're crazy, you wasted 3 minutes of your time doing this. But at the end of, I set my timer on my laptop to reflect like, okay, you have 5 minutes left. And so I finished like writing what I was writing. And at 3 minutes, I went back and looked at my essays holistically and made sure my headers were specific. So if I was skimming this really quickly, like I had 3 minutes.
Or if you're a grader.
Exactly, because that's what they're doing. So I made sure that it was easy and it wasn't hard to read and that they could get the gist of what I'm talking about right there. And I was like, wow, my presentation looks great. It looks really, really well. And then another thing I did was the afternoon session, I did the PT first.
Wow.
And my friend Devin did it first. My friend Matt did it first and they both passed as well. And I think doing the PT first was a game changer because think about it, it's 2 essays and it gives you that confidence boost because of your method, right?
I'll just interrupt for the listeners. This is all new to me. I had no idea.
We haven't spoken.
She went rogue. Okay. Go ahead.
So
not that, but
it's not a bad
felt
thing.
like we talked a lot. But
okay. But we didn't talk about the bar. You're like, save it. So,
right. I did not, and we'll talk about that too. But the reasoning for that is there's no reason to talk about the bar exam.
I agree.
Because you just feel like crap if you heard something and it does not change the result,
It's true. Yeah. So I did the PT first. And that was a game changer, because with your method, I was like, okay, I had so much confidence, and it was complete. Like, I had finished my PT, like it looked beautiful. I was like, wow. I was like, I was impressed with how good it looked visually. And your whole method, can I talk about your method?
Yeah, sure.
I'll give a gist. I won't go too in depth, but
sure. And I'm putting the videos into the app.
Oh, cool. Oh, awesome.
Just to let you know, like, I'm gonna do this kind of PT kind of drill where we do what we talked about, so the user of the app can do it, and then they could watch the videos that show us working through, like me and Chor or me and Kelsey, or I've been doing this for a few years now. Go ahead.
Yeah, your PT videos and your PT method, that helped so much, because one, it gave me, okay, what you do first, second, third, but it was just, it ended up giving me the structure, right? Yes. So like all the rules, and then from the structure, I was able to be creative and just like weave. It was just me weaving things into my PT, and I understood what was going on. I was like, oh my God, I totally understand this. And I was so proud of it. And that was the thing too, like when everything was said and done, like, and the week before results came out, all of my friends were freaking out, looking up the sample answers and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to do that, because I stand behind my work product. I stand behind what I did. And even if it didn't help me pass, or even if I didn't pass the bar, I still stand behind it. Like, I'm proud of it, because I definitely did a lot better than the first time I took it. And I don't know if it's good enough to pass, but I feel so much better. Like, I could not have done any more. Like, I felt really good about my performance, but not good in the sense that like, oh, I'm going to pass. I felt good for me, that I was like, you know what? I stand behind my work product. Like, and that's what you're doing as an attorney, right? Whenever you put something out there, you need to stand behind it, and you need to say, you know what? I gave it my all. I'm not going to second guess everything once it's filed. You know, like, of course you're going to naturally do that, but I stood behind it. I wasn't going to overanalyze everything. And that's what I said. I told my parents, I said, pass or fail, because I had this epiphany. I was like freaking out, and I was like, you know what? Pass or fail. I stand behind what I did. I stand behind my essays, and I stand behind my MBEs, and I stand behind how hard I worked. And I was telling my parents, I said, the scary thing is that if I don't pass the bar, I'm going to do the same exact thing that I was doing. And I'm like, and I don't know if that's foolish. And they're like, well, you don't know, like, you didn't get results yet. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't do anything differently. And that was what scared me. Because I'm like, I wouldn't do anything differently. I really loved the way that I had studied.
Right.
And so, so doing the PT first was a game changer. And then taking the 3 minutes out to just make sure things looked good. And because we discussed this, I don't know if it's been confirmed, but apparently the bar exam graders, they get your essays and they get them all in the packet, and they take them and they look at them.
We'll just say rumors, right?
Rumor has it that, the bar exam grader takes your essay packets and they look at it holistically first. Yes. Okay, so they're skimming it to see how it looks visually. And then that's when they go into reading it. And so if your exam looks great visually, that's awesome. But if as they're reading it, they're like, oh, okay, you're giving me little like points in the map, like, like little clues onto where we're going, where this is heading.
Right.
And it helps them because they probably have a grading sheet right next to them. But by doing that too, it's giving you a logical path in your mind, and that's what I really like.
And you're not thinking like spastically. There was a little salt there,
I had fun with my essays. And I think that was the other thing. Like this time, finally, it's fun, right? But so this time while we were taking the bar exam, like we were just having fun with it. Like the weekend before the bar, we had hung out and we were just like talking about the law, like laughing about it and like making jokes. And, it was just like just having such a good time. That's the thing when you're doing these essays, like take a moment, like laugh. Like some of these facts are so funny and outlandish, and you could just laugh at facts and take yourself out of that zone.
Time, right? Like have a good time. Like you worked up to this point, you went through law school and you've learned so much stuff, I wouldn't say like enjoy yourself, kick off your shoes or something, but it's kind of like appreciate and have that, I was thinking of whether I was going to bring this up because it's kind of like lame, but so I've been listening, I try and listen to like opposite of Eddie's son, I do listen to like hip hop music to like pump me up and stuff. And lately with like what's going on with the app, like I have this new way to go that I want, like I really think it's the key passing the bar exam now because of, you know, all this experience, right? And there's this song called I Made It with Lil Wayne. And anyways, so in the chorus, it's like a 10-year-old song, which kind of shows how old I am. But Jay Sean comes in, like, you know, there's all these artists, like it's a collaboration. And for his verse, he says, I used to dream about the life I live. And I was thinking that is so, besides driving my wife nuts by playing this song so much on repeat, did we not dream about going to law school?
Yeah, we get to study for the bar. We get to study for the bar. We get to go to law school. We don't have to study. We get to, 100%.
And we dreamed about it at one point. So you have to be like, take a step back and I know, like, you know, sometimes it doesn't work out, you know, that you do pass, but you're here now and you're able to do this great thing that you may very well have dreamed about doing. Yeah,
that's why it was so surreal when I found out I passed. Like it didn't feel real. And then even after, like, it's so funny on my phone, there's like honestly probably 7 screenshots. Because every time I would check to make sure that it was real, I would take a screenshot because I didn't believe it. I was so afraid that like it was wrong. I was like, what if it's wrong? And like, even today, I was like, it says on the bar website that you didn't pass until you get your official letter in the mail. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, so I don't know. I'm not going to feel confident and secure in this until I get my letter in the mail. And then they send out an email today saying, oh, starting February 2019, we are now sending out your results and digitally, check your applicant portal. And it was there. It was on my applicant portal. So congratulations. But it still didn't feel real. I was like, I don't know. What if it was just wrong? I was like, they said about the paper copy in the mail. And I came home today because I was going to go home on my lunch break like crazy. And I came home today and I checked my mail and my like congratulations letter was in the mail. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, I passed. Okay. I called my parents. Like, I passed the bar. Like, yeah, we've been saying this. Like, we know you passed. Like, because I keep calling them up going, what if it was a mistake? They're like, we're not entertaining this.
That's so nice that, you know, like you've told me things that your dad has said about that he knows how hard you worked. And I know how hard you worked as well, but be sure, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, I worked with 10 people this time and there's a few that didn't make it. And it's heartbreaking. And I don't know if I was delusional. I was saying this to somebody else too. It was like, I seriously saw the way everyone worked. And I honestly was picturing and like fantasizing really that all 10 of you were going to pass. And, you know, so it's a tough exam.
It's so tough. I remember I don't think we spoke about this because we had just met, but when I first found out that I didn't pass back in November, I was afraid to take it. Like I FaceTimed my parents and I told them that I didn't pass and like they thought I was kidding. And I was like, no, I'm not kidding. And, you know, my dad got like so upset and like he was cursing, like he was watching the New York Giants and I'm like that, you know, and it was funny, but like I didn't like, it was just so hard for me to tell them and I didn't want to take it again. I was so afraid. And my parents like called me up the next day, like, Bree, listen, like we're going to pay for you to take it again. Like, you need to take it. Like, you got to get back in there. You can't give up. And I was like, I'm so afraid. And the fact that like I was so, and I don't get afraid. Like I tackle life head on. And this exam really paralyzed me in the sense that I was so afraid because I had no sense of direction of like what to do. And that's when I met you and you were like, listen, do this. And I didn't have any other bar app.
It's great. And so to get back to the other thing that I think is important for the listeners too, is the MBE does not have a floor.
No.
You get 0. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but the essays, you went to law school, and I swear, if you write anything that resembles Iraq and it's saying some stuff that's relevant to that subject,
no, it's so true.
If you're talking about offer acceptance considerations and contracts, even though it's maybe, you're going to get like, you know, you're not going to get 0.
But that's where the MBEs help with the essays. Like, and I did not believe you for the longest time. Like, I was like, should I be doing essays? When should I start doing essays? When should I start? And you're like, no.
Wait, hold.
Wait. And I was like, when can I start? And you're like, just do the drills. And I was like, you're like, you could do the drills if you want. And I was like, when are we doing essays? Sandy, I am so grateful I did not work on essays for as long as other people did. Because one, you were the person that said the essays are a moving target. They 100% are a moving target. And the only reason that I did well on the essays was because I recognized them from the MBEs.
Some people may respond to like, what about non-MBE subjects? Are you just gonna like not know anything? You kind of see how
they test it. Yeah,
yes.
how they test it. There's only a certain way they could test the non-MBE subject.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see the nuanced level with the MBE subjects and you just kind of apply it.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, and it was your essay drill app too that you were like, okay, you could start working on that. Cause I was like, I think I was like badgering you. I was like, what about the, I was that person going, what about the non-MBE subject? You know, what about wills and trusts? I was so afraid of wills and trusts.
One of the 10, she got mad at me. She won't admit it now, but she kept on saying, I want to look at some corporations or, you know, non-MBE stuff. Yeah. And I go, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to, you know, I go, I don't care. You know, you're not, you know, like whatever her MBEs were. And like, she just stopped talking to me for like a day or two, you know? Yeah. And, but that is the way you have to kind of do this. I was talking with someone else today, is that you kind of, when you're doing this, you kind of have to make up your mind. And I think in life too, we're talking about life, you kind of have to make up your mind what you're going to do, how you're going to study, and then just stick to it.
Yeah.
Like, don't waver and get freaked out and then start doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, less is more. That's what I did. That's why I was like, okay, I trust you with this.
Thank you for trusting me too.
I mean, I passed the bar so high, like it worked out.
Right.
And even if I didn't pass, I would have still followed the same thing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you always, you know, I really appreciate it. I didn't know about that PT thing.
Oh,
I think, to be honest, you know, like now that is all, I probably would have advised against it. But
wow.
So it
really,
worked out.
No, I wouldn't have listened. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Talk about why your reasoning is to do the PT first.
Because it's worth 2 essays, right?
Right.
And because if you know how to do the PT, it's a confidence booster. Okay. And if you set it up the right way and you get in your flow, you feel good about it. Okay. So 1, you're doing it when you're not tired. It's not, you know, the final essay portion. No. You're doing it when you're back from your lunch break and you're feeling good. Okay. And so you get that out of the way and you're feeling confident, like following your steps with the PT. All you have to do is just do creative arguments and see where they leave little breadcrumbs, you know? And so that was my rationale behind it. And just, I wanted to give myself enough time for the PT. And so once you like complete it and it looks good, like you gotta front load your PT too, you know?
So the reasoning I've heard about it, and somebody asked me about it, I guess it wasn't you, but somebody of the group asked me, should I do the PT first or how should I do this, you know? And I've heard a couple things like do 45, then you'll have a full, 2 hours for the PT? If you do 45, yeah, you'll have a full 2 hours for the PT. And it makes sense because it's worth 2 essays, right? So you're kind of in this conundrum because it's 400 points over 3.5 hours. Mm-hmm. So how do you kind of maximize your time? And my whole thing, you know, I respect your and it worked. So my thing is just go as fast as you can on the, because as you know, and I know you agree with me, is the PT is kind of like a formula.
Yeah.
So you don't need any, you know, whatever. Like if you know how to, if you know how to do it, you should know how to do it. You have a library and everything. Stay within the 90 minutes that they're give you for it, because it's not like an essay, right? So for something that takes more kind of like remembering rules and stuff, you go with that and then you work as fast as you can, right? So let's say you stop at 50 and then you do like 55. Now you have 15 minutes that spills over, and then you could use that and run out of time on the PT with this, you know, like because you know how to do it, right?
My whole thing too with the PT was if I could get like if I got an 85 on the PT, that was great. That was incredible. And so I would have rather gotten a really, really high score on my PT and had my other 2 essays suffer than, you know, spread it evenly. Like, oh, okay, let me get a 55, 55, 55 instead of an 85. You know what I'm saying? So I just felt more comfortable doing the PT first. I'm like, if I could kill this and get like an 85, I'll never know what I got. But if I could kill this and get an 85, rather than me, you know, half-assing off my other 2 essays and half-assing the PT, that's what I did the first time, and it didn't work.
One thing I want to say is my good friend, my best friend from law school, she said it's kind of like doubling down doing that 45-45 thing, because if you mess up the PT, you've really messed up because you've invested extra time, plus you messed it up and you're getting hit twice.
But if you know how to do the PT, if you follow your formula, you're not going to mess it up.
Right.
It's like literally helping you. Even the cases, they give you the analysis.
Right. But then you've kind of messed up these 2 essays because you've kind of hurried through them.
Well, yes and no. The whole thing is I didn't spend any extra time on the PT. I cut it off right when I was supposed to, and then I dedicated the time. Just don't put extra time on the PT. Do it first. Do the hour and a half.
Wow. Okay. And then
you should never borrow time from anything when you're taking the bar exam. That's like that. I did that the first time.
Right. Well, I
had no idea what I was doing. I didn't finish my evidence essay the first time, but I was borrowing time. The second time, I didn't borrow any time. They're giving you 60 minutes for a reason. Because they want you to pick out the big arguments. They're not looking for the little weird, quirky arguments. Those aren't going to get you many points. Focus on the big stuff. If you have time, bring in the quirky stuff. So with PT, don't borrow time. That's the other thing. Don't borrow time. Do the PT first, but don't borrow time.
Right. And you know that my way is not borrowing time, right? It's just it's kind of just saying, hopefully you have, stay within the 60 minutes. But if you have 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there, but you're never borrowing. That's a lot different than saying, I'm going to stop at 45 and stuff.
What I did the first time that I didn't do the second time was, once I was done with an essay, I was done with it. I never looked at it again until the end, when I was going back through and skimming and making sure it looked presentable for the grader. But the first time I was like, okay, I'm going to come back to this. No, you don't have time to come back to this. Once your hour is done, move on and be done. And so that's what I did. And that helped so much, because what I was doing was I was putting forth a presentable essay once I was moving on to the next one.
Did we talk about that at all?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, because my viewpoint on it is a little different, and I just want to put it out there. I've heard this viewpoint before, that you don't bother looking ahead because it's what's the point? It's
going to take mental energy away from you.
It's going to distract you. You're going to see something dreaded and you're going to be thinking about it or whatever. Me personally, let's get back. First, decide what you're going to do. Weeks before, or even before you get there, do not waver, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Know what you're going to do. Try and visualize, in Scantron, visualize how you're going to bubble, your system of doing it or whatever. Or are you going to bubble one column at a time? Or are you going to go? So my reasoning about the essay order is, some people hate the racehorse exams. And I recommend kind of looking through, if you kind of hate those racehorse exams, and doing that first. So a lot of times, and in doing the app, I've seen a lot. This is a really technical episode. I don't think we've ever gotten into the guts like this before. But it's cool, everyone's different, and this is cool. But one of the things that in looking is, you'll see evidence is number 3 before the end. So, and evidence is crazy because you have to do, relevance. You got to go through, right? You kind of want to do that one at the front. For some people, if they're not good with time management or whatever, if they know they freak out because they kind of embellish too much or whatever, and do that in the beginning. So if you do go over, it's not going to kill you. You see what I'm saying? You still have 55 and you went over 10 minutes.
That's a good method for people that aren't anxious test takers.
Are not.
Because that are not anxious test takers. Because I did that the first time, just skimmed to see what they were. And as I'm doing an essay, I'm thinking about the other essay, and I wasn't able to be fully present. So this time I didn't look ahead, because I'm all my mental energy needs to be for this one question. I know myself, I'll be over analyzing and panicking and freaking out about the other 2 essays, because I just read the fact patterns and I can't stop thinking about them, even as I'm focusing on this essay I'm trying to write. And I guess that goes back to my focus, me not trying to be distracted by anything.
Yeah, I love it. It's blinders, right? So, like a laser. And I love that. Yeah, so it's good that we give both perspectives,
Yeah, because something could work for someone else. That just worked for me. I used to be easily distracted, especially when it comes to taking an exam.
Right. You can't get it out of your head, right?
Yeah, I don't like looking ahead. Yeah, and then I start panicking, trying to think of that rule of law when I'm trying to write a totally different essay. It's just not beneficial for me.
Right. But the main thing is just decide. Do not decide the morning of. Or
exactly. Right? Yeah. Have a game plan when you go in there.
Right. And however it goes down, you're going to stick to this. No?
And it goes back to standing behind what you did and being proud of it, regardless of the outcome.
Owning it.
Yeah, owning it. Another thing about the MBEs, though, too, that you taught me, Chore's podcast episode was so incredible. That's what changed my mind. That's when I was like, I can pass the bar. I said to all my friends, I'm like, this has totally altered my bar prep, because I'm like, I could actually pass this exam. This exam is passable, because Chore said that. And Chore was so right. She said, practice like you play. So when you play, it's like practice. I was doing 400 to 500 MBEs like they were nothing. Just in one session, I was just like, oh, boom, boom. And it became easy. And I tell people that now that are sitting for it again, and they're like, what? I'm like, no, once you see the patterns, it's so like, it's just intuitive. It's easy. You're like, oh, boom, boom, boom. And it's only hard when you're drilling, when you're doing the suicide drilling. But so I was super nervous going into the exam because I didn't really practice torts or con law for MBEs. I did the initial 300 for each. And I saw all the ways that they were tested. And I was like, oh my God, my head hurt so bad the weekend for the bar. And I'm like, I need to just at least try to get 100 torts in and 100 contracts, con law in. And you were the one that you said, Bri, you have to understand that those are ones you're naturally good at. Think of it like that. You're naturally good at these. And I was like, oh, but I was still nervous, and clearly I was naturally good at them because I passed the bar.
Right.
You know, and so that was like, oh yeah, I am naturally good at those because I passed, but like also I'm like, wow, my percentage is significantly higher for these. And even as I was redoing them, I was like, oh yeah, it was, it's so, yeah, I was like, I am good at these naturally. They don't trick me. They don't trip me up as much.
But it's less pain, right? So you're kind
less
of
pain. Well, that's the other thing that people get stuck in when they're studying for the bar. It's such a confidence killer studying for the bar, right? So you want to do something you're good at. Like I remember I was looking forward to whenever I was able to like do evidence, because like it's a treat for me because I'm good at it and I love it. So like it was a confidence boost whenever I was getting them right. And so I know back when I was studying the first time, I had a tendency. What?
I love evidence too, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's like because we're creative and I can think of other arguments. So it's just I love evidence. It's always my favorite. But so with the MBE subjects, it's easy to do the ones that you're good at, you know, and like not focusing on. So a lot of people, when they do their MBE program, they just do all of them in a row. They do all subjects mixed, and that's really cool. But it's hard to drill down on your weak spots when you're doing that, right? And so that's what was really good that you taught me was, okay, no. You're doing property, contracts, and civ pro. And I was like, this sucks. I remember hating my contracts days. I'm like, oh my God. And the more you hate it, the longer it goes because you're just getting them wrong. I remember I was just so frustrated. I would just like cry from anger because I'm like, and I only had the 2.5 hours in the morning. And I was like, there's no way I couldn't even get any of them right. Like I was doing 100, I was getting 50 right, but that's not enough to raise my percentage. But
the new app, I just got rid of percentages because they are kind of demoralizing and whatever. But the one thing I noticed with that is if you're going down in percentage,
it was so discouraging.
But it's a huge indicator that that's where you need to be.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so the fact that it's taking you forever to move up 1% is saying that
like you're not good at this.
But it's not just saying, but it's you committing to that 1%. Yeah. So that means it's keeping you there longer and longer and longer and longer because you truly are not very good at this. So it was do you know how discouraging it was when I would check my percentage and it decreased? I'm like, I need to take a walk. I would take a walk. I would just leave everything and take a walk. I'm like, I need a mental break. Like I'm too in my head. Well, you know, you did a really good job with me anyways. I didn't really see you go nuts. Get really frustrated. I mean, you had that little channel to talk to me.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't. I never really had to like talk you off a cliff or whatever.
Yeah, talk me off the ledge. Yeah.
No,
it was just essays when I was like panicking about the essays.
But that worked out, right? Because
yeah, man, I was so grateful, Sandy. I saw those essays after I was done. I was like, thank God I did not put any time into studying for essays that weren't tested, because you were right. You said it's a moving target, and I focused so much on MBEs. And like, that's the thing with the essays, you only need a certain number to get 50%. Right. And when you get that number, that's it. They don't care. They don't care that you scored 100 points extra. That's it.
Right.
You know, but the MBEs, it's weighted a little differently, or allegedly it's weighted differently. And the MBEs were just, I would rather get the MBEs right, but I didn't want to put my fate in the hands of a bar exam grader, because I worked so hard for what? For someone that's reading this in 3 minutes to decide whether or not it's good based on how it visually looks. I was like, no, I would rather do really, really well on the MBEs and have that be what pushes me to passing. No, I was going to say the other thing that I did was when I was studying, remember I had on index cards, like your tips, like, and when I had you, so this was great for me because I overthink. I'm an overthinker. I overanalyze and I'm in my head. And so you told me, and it's so funny. I would put them on little index cards, but, so I had Chor's quote, obviously. And then I had yours saying, just find the area of law they're testing, the black letter law, and move on. Stop. Like, just find the rule of law they're testing, the area of law they're testing, how they're testing it, move on. And that was like, whoa, don't spend 15, 20 minutes trying to analyze, like Googling. No. You literally told me for the MBEs, and I wrote it on an index card. You said, find the area of law they're testing.
You did that contracts question.
Yeah, the black letter law.
I said, let's do a question together, and you gave me the super hard one. But do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was this crazy one about,
it was like, with third parties.
And beneficiaries and stuff. And I'm like,
oh my God, yeah.
Great. But yeah, there's this way to just, because they're not testing you on multi-rules.
No.
You can't, right? They test you on one rule, and maybe it's it's exception, because that's the only way they can test you. So you have to just read it, like, what rule are they testing?
Yeah. And then you go to the answer choice, like, oh, here, the black letter law is right here. Yeah.
I think that's what I said, right?
I had that on an index card. And then the second phase of my MBEs, when I was really getting into like the nitty gritty of it, you were like, okay, you could start writing down the black letter law. And so I was handwriting down like the black letter law, like of the ones I wasn't getting right.
Right.
Because that was helping me solidify that knowledge. And it was helping me on the essays too, because I'm handwriting this and I'm remembering it's muscle memory. And so I'm like, oh my God, I remember this rule of law because all I did was write it numerous times because it kept coming up in my MBE practice. Because I kept getting it wrong, and I couldn't understand why I kept getting this area of law wrong. So, but
it was always like, so just to kind of preview and talk about the app a little bit, and I showed you before we started recording, is the explanations are more like those flashcards.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Because you, like a lot of these explanations, they just go in like they'll name a case, and that's fine. Like I'm kind of a Casey nerd guy myself. You know what I mean? Like I like being all, Suzette Kilo, takings and whatever. But really, you just need to know in layman's terms, kind of like what is going on. Like if some kind of like this guy is a professional, he's a doctor, and you have to show that he fell below that special duty, of care. And that's all you need to know. Like, you don't need to know, all this other stuff. Just so that's the explanations are more like that. And we're trying to go with that thing for this super app. How many was your?
3,333.
Good for you. That is awesome. 3,300. And I think your total pool was 2,000 around there. So you had to have did half of them twice, which is excellent. Probably, like some of those other, like it kind of can shift, especially since I was getting you to drill your weak stuff. You could have did them 3 times. So for results, like, how were you? I
started so I started getting nervous like the week before, and then my cousin Allie, she's like my best friend, she said to me, the results are already, like, they're already done. Like, exams already been graded. Like, you worrying is not going to change the result. Like, it's already been graded. Stop, relax. And I'm like, okay. She's like, it's like you're just waiting for them to tell you what it is. And I was like, that's true. She's like, worrying is not going to change the outcome. It's not going to change how you done the exam. You took the exam months ago, relax. And so that week was when I had that epiphany that I was like, okay, because I kept saying to you, how should I feel? How should I feel like before the exam? How should I feel a week before the exam? And you're like, I don't know. And that's like, and of course you didn't know, because it's a personal thing, how you should feel, And that's why I said I wanted to feel like I gave it my all and I could look at myself in the mirror and be proud. Right. And so the same thing happened the week for the bar, like bar results came out. And I was like, okay, all of my friends are going through the essays, like rereading it. And I was like, I'm not going to do that because I stand behind what I did. And I'm proud of it. And I'm not going to sit here and try to determine how my grader graded my exam because it's so different from these sample answers. Like it doesn't, I'm just not going to sit here and.
I actually wanted to mention that because some people would tell me, like, oh, so-and-so did a debrief of the exam. And I'm like,
I didn't listen to any of those. I deleted
all those emails. I really don't think there's any point.
No, it just makes you more anxious because I'm telling you, these essays are such a complicated thing when you really try to understand how they're graded. It's such a personal thing. And so what you write for something. So for example, one of the essay debriefings, my friend listened to it and he said, oh yeah, this professor said that this was one of the most difficult essay exams that's ever been in the history of the California bar because there were so many issues to write about. And so me being positive, I'm like, wait, that's incredible for us. That means that we could have hit so many issues. Like that gives us more chance to pass. Like there weren't set in stone issues. There were so many things to talk about, which means that we probably hit the majority of them.
Or, or the big ones,
like the ones that exactly. And so that's where I saw that. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome. But
it's like a bigger tolerance,
Yeah. And so I heard that and I was like, that's great. But like, I think a lot of these, essay debriefings were more about, okay, yeah, we didn't predict this. We didn't see this coming. That's probably why it was a little hard for everyone.
My whole thing on it is it's not going to somehow change your answer.
No, it's just gonna make you more anxious. It's just
I just don't see any point.
Wait till after you get your results. If you didn't pass, then okay, listen to the essay debriefing. But if
I don't even know about that.
I know. I know. Personally, it's hard. Yeah, it's just
you just have no control. It's in the system, or in the grader's hands. Like there's no way. All it will do is waste your hour or whatever listening to this person talk about it and make you feel like crap, most likely, I think what it is people want to think, you know what? I did talk about a lot of that. So
they want some sense of assurance, I mean, think about it. We're waiting so long. Yeah, that we're waiting so long that we're in this limbo. You just want something.
The nature of the bar exam is you really have no idea.
No, you have no idea.
I
was planning on moving. I literally was going to move.
and you did tell me that, and
I think I've repeated it like a ton of times in this episode. But that just goes to show you, I had no idea how I did, to the point that I was going to pay for the Washington State bar before I got. But results.
You know what? I did want to ask you about this because this was kind of like conflicting. Because then a week or two before, you did say something about hopefully being on the podcast. You said it in like a non-cocky way, of course, and that's where I replied to you and I said, please do me a favor and don't think about results. So what happened there? Why were you kind of...
It's like a shift in my perspective. Yeah, because you know what? Like, I don't know.
So you did have confidence is what I'm trying to say, right?
And not necessarily. I just was trying to be positive. Because you could really manifest some negative stuff if you're sitting there and thinking about how terrible you did, and that's all you're thinking about. And that's why I just would always go back to, okay, you know what? I'm proud of my performance. I shifted it. I'm proud of my performance. I did my best. Like, I could not have worked any harder. I could not have studied any better. And that's all. It wasn't like I passed. It was more, okay, I'm so proud of my performance. I stand behind what I did. I stand behind my essays and my MBE studying. And it was more of I'm proud of how I did, like personally, like me, again, going back to my mirror analogy, like, hey, look in the mirror and say I did my best for myself, Right. And so it wasn't like I definitely passed, because if you leave that exam thinking you definitely passed, that is what an incredible feeling, especially if you do pass. But I don't know very many people that feel that way.
Right.
Especially as a repeat taker.
I've never met anyone that, and I've met a lot of people, and a lot of people from really like, tier 1 schools or whatever, top 10 schools, top 5 schools. And, no one, you cannot know for sure. You know what I mean? It's just so wide. And getting back to these debriefs is like, yeah, of course, if you have time to look at a prompt, you can write a debrief. Like, yeah. At the end, when you were asking me, like, how should I feel? I was like, I believe, because I said this to you, because I said it to everyone, is what is freaking you out? What is your boogeyman? Are you dreading the corporations? Do a bunch of drills on that.
Yeah.
Until you're like, oh my God, I can't even look at this anymore, you know? That's what I think you should be doing. And it's a great position to be in, you know, and where you're kind of scared. And in the new app, by the way, I've made it so you can't look at the essay drills until you complete the MBEs.
So smart.
You gotta master everything, the MBEs, before you move on, you know, like it's like levels, like a game. And it should make you kind of obsessed. Like, I really want to take care of this, you know, whatever. So there's no timer. I don't believe in time. I believe in mastering, understanding the question, and the time will come naturally. So if you know that one or two lines off your flashcard to answer a question, the duty of care for a doctor, that's all you need. You'll do the MBE in 10 seconds. You know what I mean? You'll see it. It's learning the Jedi way, MBE way, on your own.
Yeah, like, it's muscle memory.
Was either of the two times different? Like, you know, the first time, you know, like chore, she didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean?
That was exactly me. I had no idea what was going on. And the second time I knew what was going on. And I think that's why I was like so upset after every day. Right. Because I knew what was going on. I knew. And I think that's why I was like so devastated. Because I was like, I know what's going on. I know what's expected of me. And I walked out of the exam on the last day and I said, this will be the last time I ever take the California bar exam. And I said, and I just kept repeating that to myself. This will be the last time I ever take the California bar exam. This is the last time I ever take the California bar exam.
But then you shifted, right?
Well, no. So that is something in a sense that it's neither positive or negative. It just is, right? So this is the last time I will ever take the California bar exam, whether because I passed or because I moved to a different state.
Right.
So like that was like my like comfort statement where I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to hold on to, because either I pass or I take it in another state.
Right.
You know, but like, who am I kidding? I love California. I probably would have taken it again.
Did you have any kind of negative family members, or not your family, from what I've heard?
Yeah, they're great.
But did you have any? And you know, sometimes these negative comments and stuff, they kind of come like hidden.
I guess an underlying negative thing was just that my previous boss had told me that it's going to be really hard for someone to pass that didn't pass the essay portion without a private tutor that's reading off their essays.
Right.
And I was like, challenge accepted. I was like, thank you.
Good. I mean,
that was like, but that wasn't even negative. That was just like, I mean,
it is. I personally think it's negative because
I didn't think it was negative, but I was like,
well,
okay.
You flipped it into something positive. But
yeah,
it's
I always
kind of
do that.
It's kind of putting a restriction on you that is not of your choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you went out and got a tutor, but I like the way you flipped it and you said challenge accepted. I'm going to do it now.
Yeah, I was like, thank you.
Yeah, and to show them what's up, you know, like, so that's awesome.
Yeah, but everyone else was just so positive. I think it's funny that a lot of the attorneys at my job, my old job, they said to me, "Oh, we're more surprised when people pass on the first time than when they don't pass."
Right.
Like the first time, I was like, "Oh, okay."
A super positive thing to say.
I was like, "Thank you." I was like, "Thank you." I loved it. I was like, "Okay, cool." They're like, "Yeah, no, don't sweat it, Bri. Like, you're fine." One of the other attorneys also said to me, like, "Relax. Like, how are you feeling?" I said, "Oh," and she goes, "Good. That's how you feel." Oh, like, you know, shake it off. Like, She goes, "Good. Right. You're already halfway there." She goes, "That's half the battle."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, get out of your head. It's how it is." I was like, "It is what it is." And she's like, "That's how you should feel."
Okay. Last question. Is there anything you wanted to say then? This has been, you know, an hour and a half unedited time. So, is there anything you wanted to say, like kind of in closing, to anybody else that just got results? We're in May, so people graduated, and this is going to be the first time. Do you want to say anything to them, to repeaters?
To repeaters, I would say this exam is passable. It's just about being focused. It's studying smarter, not harder, you know, and like I'm telling you, 3 hours of intense focus is so much more than 12 hours of watching lectures, you know, and that speaks volumes. And I think a lot of repeaters know this now though, but this exam is passable. You can do it. Like, don't give up. Like, you're so close, and don't hold on to your score and what it was previously, like, and focus on how you want to feel.
Right.
You know, like, be proud of your performance. Like, give yourself credit. You've attained so much knowledge just from law school alone and from studying for the bar, however many times you've been studying for it. Like, have faith in yourself. And, you know, if you feel crappy when you're studying, good. That's an indicator that you're learning, and it's a pressure spot. It hurts because you're not familiar with it. So that's a good sign. You're never going to feel confident, and that's just part of studying for the bar, I guess. But no, this is a passable exam. And listen to Chor's podcast, because that was like so inspirational. Chor's podcast was the best. It was the best. It was so good. Like, you will get to the point where you can do 400 MBEs in one sitting. You can definitely do it. This exam is passable. It's just knowing how to study for it.
Right.
I passed working full time and just with Sandy's guidance. So, yeah, thanks, Sandy. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have passed this exam.
Thank you, Bri, for, you know, doing this Monday. Results were Friday. Thank you so much. We both talked about how, you know, we wanted to get this out there for people, you know, that need it now. So thank you so much, Bri.
You're so welcome.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I made it.